Well, here we are. We're going to make some charcoal. We're out here in my backyard next to the garden, and I've taken a steel barrel and cut it in half, and I've placed it on some concrete and put some dirt around it to be able to contain the draft for this fire that we're going to do. And we're going to start off with some paper in the bottom, and we're going to put some small kindling on top of that to make it easier to start with. Then after it's going, I'm going to place some larger pieces on, and those will be the pieces that we will convert to charcoal. It will take another minute maybe to get the fire going well, and then I'll put these larger pieces on top of that. And once the fire is going quite well, I'll cover it with this, I have a lid over here. It goes to the barrel. I'll place this lid on top of the barrel, which is tight fitting, which helps to control the draft. Then I'll finish putting some earth around the outside of the barrel so no air gets to inside to fan that flame. We want no air coming into the fire once it's started. Then the charcoal itself will actually cook. The vapor will come off. Any volatile vapors will come off as well, and what we'll have at the very end is just plain charcoal, just pure carbon. There might be a little bit of ash with it, but basically it'll be just plain carbon charcoal. Now in the industry they'll call it activated carbon. They'll then take charcoal from this point and they will activate it, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. Okay, the fire is going fairly well now, so I'm going to place these larger pieces in. I have different kinds of wood here. I have cottonwood, I have some alder, and there might be a softwood in here as well. I got charcoal on my arm now. Some elm. Okay, we're back here again. It's been an hour about since we started the fire. There's hardly any smoke. You can see a glow in the wood. It's good and hot. Now what I'm going to do is put our lid back on, and now it's going to cook. The wood is going to cook. You're going to see some smoke coming out around the base, and I'm going to throw some more dirt around that so there's no chance of air getting in. But it's so hot in there that actually where I've had drilled holes around the edge, you're going to start seeing smoke coming out of those holes, and that represents moisture and also other volatile chemicals that are cooking off of the charcoal. Now you can start seeing maybe some smoke coming off these little holes on the side. That will represent moisture. You see a little bit of coming off the top, but it's so hot in there that air can't come in to fuel the fire. Now the wood is beginning to char, and hopefully when we're done, we'll have nothing but charcoal. Now you could do this a number of different ways. I've done it this way, but in times past they would dig a big pit. And when I was working out in the Pacific Islands in Micronesia, where they had a lot of coconut shells, they would dig a big pit and throw all these coconut husks and shells into the hole. They'd start the fire, they put on coconut fronds on top of that and the layers of dirt and let it char for a day, and that's how they'd make charcoal. And charcoal cooks hotter than just plain wood. In Europe, they would actually cut firewood and they would make a big mound above the ground and then start the fire again. Once the fire was really going well, they would cover it with dirt and just leave it char for a period of time. So we're going to come back probably in about later on, maybe 2 or 3 hours after this charring process is finished, and you'll be able to see the difference. We'll then take that char and we're going to pound it up into small pieces. We'll put it in a blender, and hopefully when we're done we'll have a nice charcoal powder, not activated charcoal powder, but plain charcoal powder that can also be used for a number of different things. Well, here we are. It is about 12:30. It's been about 2 hours since we caught this on fire and then covered it. It's finished cooking, it's finished charring, and it's mostly hot from the sun, but it is warm, and there is some creosote that's built up from the evaporation process, and you'll be able to see that. You could be able to see that on that lid. All that tar that was in the wood has been cooked off and vaporized off or burned off. So again, what we're left with is basically pure carbon and some ash content. Now what we're going to do now is to take it from here and put it onto this other surface, separate it out, put it in a burlap sack and pound it as much as we can into a powder, and then we'll put it into a blender. Okay, here we are. I have some coals here that are dried, or cooled off enough that I can pick them up. In fact, I could probably pick them up without these gloves. And we'll put them in this sack. Yeah, they're cooled off fine. Shake any loose stuff off if you want. There we go. This will be more than enough for our experiment. Down the bottom of the bag, I got a mallet here. Put it on this stump, this block of wood. Give it a good pounding. Now remember, folks, this is black, and it gets on things easily, and it can be a challenge to get out, so wear black. Do it outside, not inside the house. You will not be popular with the queen of the house if you do it inside. So now we're going to put it in this blender. That should be more than enough. Okay, I've filled it about half full, the blender. That's more than enough. Set that. Put the lid on tight so it doesn't get all over you. And we'll turn it on slowly. Well, let's see if that's going to work. May have to run it once more. Oh, this is perfect. Very nice. We could sell that in our store. Well, let's pour some out so you can take a look at it. Very nice. Now, we started with hardwood, but this could have been coconut shell, it could have been bamboo, it could have been pecan shells, it could have been wooden pallets, any number of woody products. We tend to use hardwoods, but Asians have more of a supply of pine, and so you'll see that they use a lot of pine or softwood in Asia. They also have bamboo and coconut though. Very nice, smooth. I can still feel a little bit of grit in there, and if you wanted to go to the extra trouble, you could probably sift it through a very fine flour sifter and save that portion. Put it into a jar and put a cap on it, and it will last indefinitely if it has a tight fitting cap. Now from this point, we talked earlier about making activated charcoal, and first you have to make charcoal. So now we have charcoal, and we'll go back into the office and finish off talking about how to make activated charcoal. But when Europeans came to the Midwest here, they would find American Indians actually chewing on burnt sticks for indigestion and heartburn and gas. That was not activated charcoal. That was just this plain wood charcoal that they had made and found out that it worked wonderful for indigestive problems. Also in the 1800s, they would take this powder, this finely ground powder. They didn't have blenders, so they had to do it by hand, and they would sift it, and they would place plates of this charcoal powder around hospital wards where there were people with gangrenous wounds or smelly infections, and this would be able to neutralize the smell, the terrible odors in these wards. And they still do it today. They place charcoal filters in hospitals to filter the air from all kinds of, not just smelly wounds, but also different chemicals that are used in hospitals. So now we'll go back inside and talk about activated charcoal.